In today's story of cats and the lives they touch, we visit this tale of Scaredy Cat by Jeanette Doyle Parr. When my daughter Kathy brought home a kitten she'd found, we were going through a family crisis. Ill health had just forced my 45-year-old husband, Bizey, into retirement. From now on, he would be staying home and undergoing more treatments. I was determined to keep our daily life normal and to act as if nothing was the matter. I smiled as Kathy put the gray and white ball of fluff down on the den floor. "Her name is Tejas," Kathy said. "It's an old Spanish word for friendly." Our two other cats padded over for a sniff. Bear was a half-Siamese giant who permitted our 14-year-old son, Alan, to be his slave. And Midnight was a black rogue who owned Kristen, our 11-year-old daughter. But Tejas, it soon became apparent, had not learned the meaning of her name. Her hair stiffened like porcupine quills, her tail shot up, and with a hiss that was anything but friendly, Tejas disappeared under the pleated flounce of our orange cat. As I stopped to retrieve her, Bizey, seated in his brown tweed recliner, spoke up. "Leave her alone. Let her hide. She's had a big shock." I straightened and looked at him, trying not to notice how his stocky body was slumped to one side in the chair, or how his dark brown hair had grayed almost overnight. And those bright blue eyes that had stolen my heart 25 years before, how could his pain darken them so much? I quickly turned my face away. "All right, honey, I'll leave old Scaredy Cat alone." I was relieved to hear the steadiness in my voice as I flashed the bright smile I was trying to perfect. "I'm sure she'll adjust." But she didn't. In the days that followed, Tejas crept out only to eat or use the litter box when no one was around. The rest of us were almost as timid, afraid to upset Bizey in his brown tweed recliner. There was no discussion about the problem. Alan and Kristen retreated more and more to their rooms. Bizey seldom left his chair. The cave under the orange couch became Tejas' permanent home. And I felt like climbing into bed, pulling the covers over my head, and not coming out myself. I was finding it increasingly difficult to be up all the time, but I kept trying. I just had to keep the family happy. One day, returning from the grocery store, I was astonished to find Bizey in the den with the kitten draped across his right shoulder. "Look, hon, I'm petting Tejas." Everything on Tejas was flat. Her hair, her ears, even her tail, swishing like an angry snake. Her eyes were narrow green slits, and I too felt upset. Why couldn't Bizey have left well enough alone? "Bizey, she's scared and furious. Please let her go." A light snapped off in Bizey's eyes. He released the kitten, and in seconds she was back under the sofa, and Bizey returned to his chair. 6 days later, I drove him to the hospital. "The surgery will be minor," the doctor said, "just the removal of scar tissue. But I'm concerned about your husband's depression." After they rolled Bizey away, I sat waiting in his room, thinking about what the doctor said. There was a knock on the door. "Come in," I said reluctantly. The hospital chaplain introduced himself. I took little note of his name, but I remember his handshake. Instead of one hand, he used two, clasping my hand in both of his and pressing gently. "How are you?" His voice seemed to fill the tiny room. "I'm just fine," I said brightly. "Just fine?" "Yes, thank you." "I wish he'd leave," I was saying to myself. But he didn't. He squeezed my hand again and wouldn't let go. I looked at his shoes. "He needs to polish that right one. It's scuffed." "Mrs. Parr," his voice softened, "I feel that in spite of what you're saying, you are not fine." The part of me that was denying his words wanted to kick his left shoe and scuff it too. The part of me that was struggling for serenity clutched at what he was saying. "Your life has changed dramatically," the chaplain said. "Please ask God to help you accept that. There's a special kind of healing in acceptance. It gives you the strength to go on in a new direction." He continued to hold my hand as he prayed a short prayer, and then he was gone. I pulled Bizey's robe from the bed, bunched it in my arms, and hugged it. Oh God, I prayed. I just can't keep avoiding the truth. I'm so tired of pretending that nothing's changed in our lives. Please help me. The intercom squawked, "Miss Parr, your husband is in recovery." As the doctor had expected, the surgery had been uneventful. That evening, a drowsy Bizey urged me to go home. When I arrived, Alan and Kristen were watching television. "How's Dad?" they asked, jumping up. "He's just fine," I began. Then I remembered my prayer. Snapping off the TV, I sat down between them on the orange couch. That is, the operation went all right, and he'll be home soon. But he's sad about not being able to work anymore. I'm sad for him, and for us. I know both of you are too. For the first time, I had removed my cheerful mask. My expression, my words, the tone of my voice all reflected exactly how I was feeling. The children looked at me, then almost simultaneously, their tense faces and postures began to relax. Things are never going to be like they used to be, are they, Mom? I could see the glint of tears in Kristen's eyes. No, honey, they aren't. Is Dad going to die? Alan repeated the question he'd asked several times before, but this time Alan got an honest answer. I don't know, son. We have to take one day at a time. Suddenly I heard an annoyed hiss. My foot had brushed against the pleated flounce, and Tejas was letting us know she didn't want us bothering her. She wanted to hide, undisturbed, nothing changing, cowering in her cave. You want to know something, kids? I said suddenly. Just because things will never be like they used to be, doesn't mean they can't be good. It's just different. While the children looked at me in astonishment, I bent over, lifted the couch's flounce, and made an announcement. Your life is going to be different too, Miss Scaredy Cat Tejas, I called. We're through hiding, and so are you. When Bizey came home from the hospital, we lifted the flounce on the orange couch and pinned it so that it would stay up. Soon, Bizey helped us put a string on a plastic toy, and we started taking turns dragging it back and forth in front of the opening. Gradually, Tejas ventured out. First her head, then her front paws, finally all of her. Then, as we pulled the toy, she chased it madly around the room, then up the den steps, then into the kitchen, and into every room of her new home. It seemed our whole family finally let out a collective sigh of relief. In the days and weeks that followed, we began discussing the changes in our lives. Openly and honestly, we all talked about the fears we had, the worry we felt, the adjustments we'd have to make. There was no more pretending or avoiding, or being angry and nasty, just realistic talk about day-to-day changes that are still going on in our lives and probably always will. Today, the orange couch and the brown tweed recliner are still in our home, but nobody's hiding under or in them. And that scaredy cat, Tejas, she spends most of her time looking for a lap to sit on, now that she's such a friendlier cat and all. Oh boy, that's a good story. Animals and how they can help provide healing to even a whole family struggling with major changes, and the wonderful similarities between their reaction to these adversities and cats. So, great story. Stories of cats, the Scaredy Cat, on this Saturday.